Hello. Today I'm going to discuss my thoughts on mindfulness. If anything in this video speaks to you, you can like and subscribe or hit the bell if you want notifications, but we're going to get right into it. I'm mainly going to talk about mindfulness and being present. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot and trying to practice it. It's not easy because I think not just from our parents, but from society, our friends, colleagues, everyone around us is constantly dwelling on the past or projecting themselves into the future and kind of getting lost in those two extremes. But mindfulness is about being fully in the present. And I think most people I meet are not in the present, very rarely. But I think it's possible, and I think it's something that you can learn with practice. But, I think it's an exercise, like any other kind of exercise. The more you do it, the better you become at it, and the more second nature it becomes. So, let's talk about it a bit. I'm going to start with being in the present. I think that it's almost a detached place you have to be, where you can witness your thoughts but be separate from them. So part of what you're supposed to do when you're practicing mindfulness is to not overly react to thoughts that you're having. Typically, we're very emotional beings, and we get sort of triggered by different things. And when I say triggered, I don't necessarily mean that just negatively. Certain things make us very happy, nervous, scared, things like that. But a lot of those emotions happen very quickly when we're faced with certain conditions. But when you're being mindful, I think you're supposed to kind of detach and witness the triggers but not react to them. So be very non-reactive. In order to do that, you have to really pay attention to where you are and where you are in the present, and kind of what you're doing. But again, I think even if you're doing something, you should be kind of detached from it, and be very in the present moment. I think when you're doing this, you have to have a lot of non-judgment, which is hard to do, especially if you're talking to someone, or even if you're like eating food, you're kind of judging if it's good or bad, or you're comparing it to other meals that you've had, or your dream meal, let's say. And that could be said for many things, many experiences. But if you get good at it, research shows that it can remodel the physical structure of your brain, which is very fascinating. And the more that you practice it, I think the more you can appreciate reality and appreciate the present moment and the moment of being alive. So I'm going to get deeper into it, but first I'm going to read a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, that might shed some light on what this is about. We are a wave appearing on the surface of the ocean. The body of a wave does not last very long, perhaps only 10 to 20 seconds. The wave is subject to beginning and ending, to going up and coming down. The wave may be caught in the idea that I am here now and I won't be here later, and the wave may feel afraid or even angry. But the wave also has her ocean body. She has come from the ocean, and she will go back to the ocean. She has both her wave body and her ocean body. She is not only a wave, she is also the ocean. The wave does not need to look for a separate ocean body, because she is in this very moment both her wave body and her ocean body. As soon as the wave can go back to herself and touch her true nature, which is water, then all fear and anxiety disappear. I think that's a beautiful quote, and I think it sums up not just being present and mindful, but also life and death. I've heard a similar thing before about, a tree has leaves, but like the leaves fall through the seasons, but then they grow back the next year. So it's this kind of like cycle, but the tree is kind of like, in this case, the ocean. And you are the tree and you are the leaves, just like you are the ocean and you are the waves. But I think, it really shows how when we are reactive, we're thinking as the wave, but when we get into the present, then we take on some attributes of the ocean because we're kind of seeing the all. And I will admit that I think it's a little scary when you really get in the present. In fact, in the times that I've been trying to do it, I feel this kind of fear, as if maybe if I go too much into the present, that I might kind of lose myself. I actually experienced that many years ago during a meditation where I kind of lost feeling in my leg, and it kind of felt like it went through the floor. So like it jolted me out of it, and it terrified me because it made me realize that like either my mind was tricking me, or maybe I somehow broke down physical reality, even if for a moment, and like there was like a fear of like losing grip on this sort of dream that we live in. It was very strange, but ever since then I've had a lot of respect for these kind of things, and I go very slowly. At that time I was going very fast into I'm going to say the realm of the brain, let's say, and I kind of had to hit the brakes a little because it was just too intense. But since then I've been going more steadily and trying to do it with more care and wisdom, I guess, not so recklessly. But when you're doing mindfulness, I think many things can change. Like if you're doing a task like washing the dishes or cleaning your room, something that normally most people have kind of a negative view towards because it's a work or a chore. But if you do it like non-reactively, I think it can be kind of pleasurable in a way. Almost kind of automated. And especially if you're looking at something like, let's say you're eating, for example, and you're eating a piece of fruit. This is something that Thich Nhat Hanh talks about a bit. He refers to an orange, but let's say it's any fruit. And you are peeling it, so you're very conscious when you're peeling it, and you're thinking, about being in the present and the process of eating this thing, which most food has a distinct process involved, I think. So you're peeling the fruit and you're kind of taking the pieces apart. And as you're doing that, you're kind of contemplating like all the things that are in the fruit. Like maybe the rain that helped grow the fruit, the clouds that produced the rain, let's say, the sun that helped not only create the clouds, but also create the fruit by nourishing the plant, which produced the fruit, the minerals in the ground, which came up, through the dirt to create the constituent parts of the fruit, and even time, the time it took to grow the fruit. All these things, all these different conditions and items, I think can help you appreciate or have gratitude for what you're doing. Like if you're eating the piece of fruit and you think about it instead of just gulping it down like most people eat, it definitely gives you more out of the experience, I guess. And you can use this in a lot of things, in any kind of contemplation or moments of trying to be, I would call it like ultra presence maybe. And by doing that, I think you can overcome a lot of things. We have many addictions. Most people are addicted to caffeine and sugar, even like carbohydrates. A lot of people are addicted to different things like sexual things or different habits, a lot of obsessive habits or compulsive habits. Most of those things are kind of like addictions, and even like TV, watching too much TV or too much YouTube. If you're doing any of these things and you become more present, I think you have more power to break those addictions. Because every time you're doing it, you have to think, oh, I'm in this moment. Like, for example, if you're drinking alcohol, when you're doing drinks, you're thinking, oh, I'm just having fun and I'm talking to people and stuff. But if you step back a second and you kind of like process what you're doing, you realize that you're putting this poison in your body. And yeah, you're getting short pleasure from it, but you're also getting a lot of pain from it, from like the hangover and all the other things. And same with sugar. Sugar is sort of an innocent drug, but people underestimate it, I guess is what I would say. If any of these addictions become too strong, you obviously lose your grasp on the present, because you're lost in the past by probably having regret. Oh, I did this, oh, I did that, I shouldn't have done that. But also you're lost in the future because you want the next, an addiction parlay fix, let's say, but next experience that quenches that addiction. I think by just being more present, you can cope more with these things and maybe eventually overcome them, or at least get more mental clarity and strength to resist them, let's say. And I think this is a good thing for your mental health. By not being in the past or the future, but remaining in the present, I think it keeps your mind honed and sort of focused more on the task at hand or whatever it is that you're doing, instead of being lost in these two different extremes. And so, like, even some habits like walking or even meditating or anything like that, I think you can learn a lot about ultimate reality, which is a place that a lot of people are not in. And I think it's kind of the sweet place, and in fact maybe people would call that like nirvana or heaven or whatever you want to call it, but I think it's kind of the sweet spot, let's say. And I'm going to close with a quote about that, about being present and doing actions like walking or something, but in a mindful way. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on earth. And that's Linji Yishuan, I guess is how you say it. And I think it's true. It's quite a potent quote, because it just shows that most people are not aware of the miracle, I guess. And every little glimmer you get of this miracle, I think the more rich your life can become. But like I said before, it can also be very scary. But I think that's something that we often grapple with in life, is the best things for us are often the scariest. You always feel that way, like before you fall in love, or you have like a new experience, like a new job or a new location you live in. It's always very frightening, that kind of unknown. But I think it, more than just the unknown, I think it's also the fact that you're in this now moment, and that's when we're truly alive. So that's about all I have. You can like and subscribe if you got anything from this video, or share it with someone if you think they could benefit from what I discussed here. And that's about it. I will talk to you later. Be mindful. Take care.